Hello everyone, it's Tracy here from Temperance Tarot, and it is time for my January roundup, deck roundup. I did not use very many tarot decks. I did not use very many decks at all this month. I got hooked on the couple of decks that I was using for some Instagram challenges, and I just didn't want to put them down. So for January, I only used two tarot decks and 2 oracle decks. And let's have a look. One of the tarot decks that I used this month was the Green Witch Tarot. Now this is a very popular deck. You've seen it all over the place. I was just very surprised with this deck. People talked about decks being gentle decks or kick in the pants decks, and I was sort of half a mind of that. I sort of thought it's a deck of cards. It's a projection of myself that I'm projecting gentleness or kick-assness onto these cards. But after using these cards for a month, I've decided that I kind of don't really believe that anymore. I do think decks display the personality of their creator and their creator's intentions for what the deck was intended to be. So for this deck, I find this to be a very gentle deck. And that is not because of the cards that I drew from the deck in answer to my questions. It's actually because of the way the creator has renamed the cards and reworked some of the images. Even though they still retain their basic Rider-Waite-Smith meaning, they're just gentler. So here, I put them back in order. We have like the Green Man for the Fool. I'm trying to figure out where I am here. Okay. The Witch for the Magician, High Priestess, the Earth Mother for the Empress, Horned God, which is what you would expect sort of in a witchy deck, the High Priest, the Lady and Lord, the Chariot is the Battle Wagon. Instead of Strength, we have the Crone, but we do have her here with a lion. The Holly King for the Hermit. The Wheel of the Year for the Wheel of Fortune, which I do find a Wheel of the Year to be gentler than a Wheel of Fortune. That just could be in my mind. That could be a mental thing, because the Wheel of Fortune, you know, kind of indicates that your luck could change at any time. Whereas the Wheel of the Year has very distinct cycles that you go through, and you circle through them, and you continue to circle through them. Instead of Justice, we have the Standing Stone. This is the Hanged Man, the Oak King. Now, the rest of the cards is where it really starts to, I think, in my opinion, get gentle. Here is the Lord of Shadows instead of Death. For Temperance, we have the She. For the Devil, we have Nature, and that, you know, does not, to me, speak to the binding and addictive aspects of the Devil card. I just think it's more gentle. The Tower looks like a tower, but it's called the Wild Hunt, and you have these horses in the sky. The Star is the star. The Moon is the moon. The Sun is the sun. Then we have, instead of Judgment, we have the Harvest, which to me, in my mind, is just completely different. But at the same time, it's kind of the same as the Judgment card. I can see, especially when I read the book, I could see where she was going and where she got it. But the image isn't as confronting. It isn't as Christian, as obviously not Christian. But the image just isn't as confronting, and it isn't as the end of the world as the traditional Rider-Waite Judgment card looks like. And then there was one other one that I particularly wanted to point out. It was, they're all like here in the Five of Wands, which is sometimes, you know, conflict. These guys are obviously practicing. Five of Chalices, a little more gentle to me simply because she's got 3 of her chalices in her basket that she's going to take with her when she goes. So you've already got that next step showing in the card deck. This is the 5 of Swords. While in the book it does talk about deception a little bit, there's no conflict in that image. These are 2 merchants figuring out how much a craftsman and a merchant, and the craftsman is selling his knives and the merchant is buying his knives. And yeah, you have a little bit of buyer beware in there, but it's just not nearly as full of conflict as the 5 of Swords. The 7 of Swords as well, the 7 of Athames. I can see that, yes, you know, at this time he could technically be considered to be poaching, but I just don't get any sort of deception or trickery from that card, which is okay. You know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these interpretations. I just, oh, and the 10, you know, that's way more gentle, way more gentle. So I think it's a great gentle deck if that's what you need at any given moment. I got fabulous messages from it. The 5 of Pentacles is the one that looks the harshest. And I did get fabulous messages from it, and I really loved using it. It's just, I would consider it a gentle deck, and it's not just me projecting gentleness onto the deck. I think it was intended to be a gentle deck. And the other thing I wanted to mention about this is new Llewellyn. I just bought it in December. It's the new Llewellyn cardstock that everybody seems to be griping about. And I can see why. I mean, you look at that card and it just bends all kinds of different ways, and you think it's going to be easy to damage. But the one thing I was just amazed at was how well this deck shuffles. You know, I can bend it to shuffle it, bend it to bridge it, and then it just comes right back to being straight and in good shape. So I am now a converted fan of the new Llewellyn cardstock. Just saying. This is going to go back in its box now that I'm done using it for the month. The other deck I used this month obviously was the Dark Mansion Tarot, because I got it at, I don't remember if it was, I got it in January. It came in January. And this is just such a fun deck. I mean, just a fun deck. I love the artwork. It's so colorful. It's so easy to read. It's so nuanced. There's all kinds of things to see and different things to pick up on each time I look at one of these cards. I'm not going to show all these cards because we've all seen them. They're, you know, it's a really popular deck right now. It's all over the place. But I have to say, I absolutely love it. I do want to give you one warning. This is the standard edition with the black edges. It's like having a black, you know how sometimes when you have a pair of shoes and the sole of them's black and it rubs on a white linoleum floor and it leaves a mark? Can you see that? So yeah, don't rub these cards up against a white piece of paper that you want to keep white. I haven't had it rub off on my hands any at all. I haven't worn like a white shirt to see if it would rub off on a white shirt, but I think it might. It probably wash out. But yeah, just be careful with this one because these edges will write on a white piece of paper. I got a new deck for my purse that I wanted to show you. It's called the Makalon Tarot. It's a Japanese deck that I saw on Sacred Space Japan's channel. And if you want to see a full flip through, she has the most adorable full flip through of this deck. Go over there and see it. It is just the most adorable deck. It comes in a hard box. It used to come in a tin, but now it comes in a hard box. It's in print. And it is the most precious deck I have seen in a long time. It's right up there with the Delos, and if you know, the Delos is out of print for good now from what I understand. If you couldn't get the Delos, you might want to get this one. I paid $40 for it, shipping from Japan, and it took 2 weeks to get to me. The cardstock is not wonderful, but it's not horrible. It's a small deck, which is why I keep it in my purse. I believe it's a bridge. It's about a bridge-sized card, because this is a playing card, a standard playing card, and you can see it's the same height, but it's a little narrower than a standard playing card. So yeah, that's bridge size. And I just love it. This is the deck I'm going to have with me all the time in my purse from now on. And again, go see Sacred Space Japan's full walkthrough of this deck, because it is adorable. All right, now the Oracle decks. I used the Goddess Inspiration Oracle by Chris Walder. I believe this deck is out of print and has been out of print for a while. I've had it for a number of years and have never really used it. And I like it. This is definitely staying in my collection. It's an 80 card deck with 80 different goddesses, although I think some of them, you're stretching it to call them a goddess. It's Llewellyn. It's on their old cardstock. The art is, you know, but you have a real good range of goddesses from all over the globe, and a lovely message that goes with each of them on the card. Just really lovely for a quick message. And the guidebook gives you just a little bit of background information about each of the goddesses. It tells you, you know, what part of the world they're from, whose pantheon they're part of, and just, you know, a little bit of background about each of the goddesses. There are a lot of them whose names I can't even begin to pronounce. But yeah, I liked this deck. I thought it was very nice. And 80 cards, you know, 80 cards is always nice. The last Oracle deck I worked with this month was the Chakra reading cards. And I liked this one too. This one had a very nice basic introduction to the chakra system. Some of the images are better than others. It's kind of a mixed bag with the images, but it includes the Earth Star chakra and the Soul Star chakra. So you have a number of cards for each chakra. Can't decide how to pronounce it today. And you can see they're color-coded on the outside edges, and they have little symbols at the top. You can see also that, you know, some of them are just straight photographs. That's a photograph of 3 monkeys. And then others are clearly drawn artwork, like that one. I like this deck. I thought it had some really nice basic messages and ways to work with your chakras. So this one is also staying in my collection. And this is the card that made me get the deck, because I really love that card. Okay, so those are all the decks that I used this month. If all you're interested in is the decks, then that's it for you. I did want to spend a few minutes talking about the Egyptian Prosperity Magic book that I got in the January Witch's Moon box. This book is available from Llewellyn. It is a currently in production book. However, the hardback version you could only get through the Witch's Moon box. They are spells and recipes for financial empowerment. It's an interesting, cute little book. It's basically a reference book. I read all of the beginning and a couple of spells. She talks about what her background is a little bit, and why she was drawn to Egyptian magic and Egyptian style spell casting. She does talk about, you know, particularly when it comes to spells and recipes for financial empowerment, she's very clear that these spells can't take the place of doing the work in the mundane world that you have to do to bring yourself financial empowerment. things like, you can do a spell all day long for a new job, but if you don't apply for a new job, you're probably not going to get one. So these are like reinforcement spells, is what I like to call them. It does have some basics about how to do a spell in it. I think it's good for a beginner to a certain degree. It also talks about oils, because she uses oils in every single one of the spells. And then part 3 is Egyptian deities for spells, which talks about a select handful of the Egyptian deities in a very, fairly brief manner that might be useful in a spell for financial empowerment. She does not by any means go into all of the Egyptian deities. I don't know very, very little about Egyptian deities, and I knew that there were some that were missing. But the thing that I really did like about it was she has pronunciations for the names of the Egyptian gods. So this is Imhotep. And interestingly enough, she has a pronunciation for Thoth. And then I'm going to see if I remember. I think he was the last one. She pronounces it Thoth like sloth. So I am going to take that as I can pronounce it that way too, and I'm going to pronounce it Thoth from now on. The spells in here are not quick and easy spells. I'd call them more mid-level. She generally recommends that they be done over a 3-day period. They do require, every single spell in this book requires you to create an oil blend. So like, here's your Success Can Be Mine oil. You need your base oil, some benzoin essential oil, 5-finger grass essential oil, which I never even heard of that, and then honeysuckle essential oil. You use a candle, you use some incense, there's some suggested herbs, there are offerings, and then there's an incantation. And they all pretty much work the same way. I think there's some really great spells in here, and when I'm to the point in my journey where I'm making up my own oil blends, I would absolutely turn to this book to look for some oil blends to use for some magic. Then there's also some ingredient correspondences in the back. So not a bad little book. Not a comprehensive book, sort of, I'd call it a medium book. I'd give it about 3 to 3.5 stars out of 5. So there you go, there's my roundup. I do apologize for the weird setup. Next month I will go back to my standard overhead, but I'm filming another video today and I didn't want to have to change my setup. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching and have a fabulous day.